because I'm enslaved, because I'm bound by the shackles of this bad habit. Just go look at the blogs. People trying to break a certain habit. There are so many websites, so many blogs, so many forums dedicated to individual habits. People offering support, people offering help to those who are trying to break free from the habit. It's a form of slavery. And Islam helps us break free from that slavery. Islam says, you really want to be free? You have to be free from bad habits. Or all habits in general. Just don't be attached to anything. Be light, be free. Be your own man. If it's watching TV that has enslaved me, being able to break free from that, that makes you a free man. That makes you a free woman. If just chatting and talking to my friends online, that is my habit, break free from that. Go through those programs, those 7 steps or 21 steps or what have you. Break free. Even if it doesn't seem to you as if it's a bad habit. Because that's one of the problems, isn't it? It's being in a state of denial. It's not recognizing that this is a bad habit and that I can't break free from it anymore. It's like a friend was telling me that quitting smoking is so easy. In fact, I've done it 1,000,000 times before. Now, every time you quit and go back and add to the tally, it means you weren't able to quit. So that's another form. Another is the slavery of lust. A very specific desire. Lust. You know how big, and I ask you to excuse me to go into a little bit of detail here. But let's face the truth. Let's grab the bull by the horns, as they say. Let's recognize the problem and try to deal with it. You know how big the pornographic industry is today? $57 billion worth. That is bigger. The revenues that the porn industry generates is more than the combined revenues of professional football, baseball, and basketball. The U.S. porn industry is twice as big as the combined revenues of ABC, NBC, and CBS. The biggest broadcasters in the country. And they're not getting a big enough piece of the pie, are they? $57 billion. It is ubiquitous. It is all over the place. A'udhu billah. In fact, some British statistics I was going through some time ago, they were saying that we're not just talking about boys here. Boys and their tendencies and their problems, that's a category of its own. 1 out of every 5 girls access porn on a regular basis in the United Kingdom. Girls. Of course, we like to live in denial. We like to, as parents say, oh, not my son, not my daughter. They're good. They were raised in a good home. Yeah, good for nothing home. Because if they are given access, the problem isn't the upbringing, my brothers and sisters. Now, I'm serious. The problem isn't the upbringing. They could have had the best upbringing. The upbringing that involves the majalis of Ahlul Bayt. That's a wonderful upbringing. It's not that. It's like a girl was saying to her father, she was saying, don't you trust me? I said, it's not about that. It's not about me trusting you or not. It's the vicious monsters and beasts in the outside world that I don't trust. You're fine. You're okay. I did give you a good upbringing. But the problem is so rampant. It is so ubiquitous. It is so overwhelming that it's extremely difficult to try and protect them. How do you protect them? You limit their access to anything that would lead to that problem. And that's a different topic. I'm not talking about this tonight. All I'm saying is we need to recognize the issue. We need to recognize that it's a big problem and try to deal with it, inshallah. Another form of slavery is the slavery of social status. There are so many types, by the way, that Islam is out there trying to free us from. One of them is the slavery of al-mulk, authority. And this is probably one of the most intoxicating. Harun al-Rashid, you probably have heard the story. Imam al-Kadhim comes to see him. And he comes to see him after the king sent him messages asking him to come. And eventually it became clear that if the Imam didn't pay him a visit, there would be consequences. So in an attempt to save his life and the life of the Hashemites, of the Sayyids, of the Ahlul Bayt, the Imam did go visit him while he was in the city of Mecca. When he visited him, Harun al-Rashid glorified the Imam in such a way that baffled his son Al-Amin. Al-Amin was shocked. He was saying, "Who is this man?" After the Imam left, Amin said, "Dad, who was that? You respected him in such a way that no one receives, you've never respected anyone like that." So Harun said to him, "You know who that is? That is the predominant and the leader of the members of Ahlul Bayt in this day and age. That is the Imam. That is the son of Rasulullah. In fact, the kingdom that we have belongs to them, and I've only usurped it." So Amin, being the naive little kid who eventually got into a brawl with his brother and was eventually killed, said to his dad, "Well, if that's the case, why don't you give him back the kingdom that you say you usurped?" Harun said, "Let me tell you a little something, kiddo. إن نازعتني على هذا الأمر لأخذت الذي فيه عيناك إن الملك عقيم." You better listen, and you better listen closely. If you, forget this man, if you of all people, my own son, my own blood and flesh, if you dispute this over me, in other words, you try to take this authority away from me, I will take the organ in your body which contains your two eyes. In other words, I'll have your head. إِنَّ الْمُلْكَ عَقِيمٌ. Don't you ever forget this. Authority is infertile. In other words, there is no kinship, there are no relationships, there is no relatives involved in the question of authority. I'll do whatever it takes to hang on to this. Al-Mulku Aqim. Another example, of course, is Umar ibn Sa'd himself. Umar ibn Sa'd said to the Imam that, I'm sorry, I have come here having received orders from superseding authority from my superiors. The Imam told him, "Why? Why would you do that?" He said, "You know what? I know I'm going to go to hell, but I have a house, and I'm afraid that they would demolish my house if I didn't do what they asked me." The Imam said, I'll replace your house, I'll rebuild it. He said, "But I have a farm, and I think if I don't do what they're asking me to do, they'll take the farm away." The Imam said to him, "I'll give you another farm, a better one." So he just turned his head away. You know when somebody's just trying to come up with excuses, you know that this argument, this conversation is going nowhere. They're just throwing excuses at you. It was exactly that. He says in one of his poetry, he says that I know that I'm going to go to hell. What can I do? I've been promised the mulk of Ray. I've been promised to rule Ray, present day Iran. And the women in Ray, and the money in Ray, and just to be the king. That's just too much to give up. I can't give that up. He was truly intoxicated with it. Another form of slavery, the slavery of money. Haven't we all gotten a sense of that? Because let me tell you something, the shaitan has had thousands of years of collective experience and the different tools and the apparatus and the means with which he could deceive us. He's got a lot of experience. But no tool is more powerful in his toolbox than the good old buck, the greenback, Mr. Franklin, the dollar. There's nothing more powerful than that. You're probably familiar with the parable of the